Hey y'all, and welcome to Off the Record. I am your girl, Dr. Tranell. Most people call me Dr. T. And if you're new here, you can call me either one you want to. And if you're also here, I already believe this conversation found you for a reason. Today, we're talking about something that I think a lot of women feel but don't always know how to say. This episode is called The Real You Still Has Something to Say. And I want to start right there because sometimes it is not that you don't have anything to say. Sometimes you're just tired. Sometimes you've been in so many roles, carried so much, helped so many people, pushed through so many seasons that your voice gets quiet. And it's not because you lost it, it's because life got loud. Responsibility got loud. Motherhood got loud. Business got loud. Disappointment got loud. Survival got loud. And somewhere in all of that, you start wondering, do I even sound like myself anymore? So today we're not going to get deep in a heavy way. We're just having a real conversation because the real you is still in there and she has got something to say. You ever just get tired of being on? Like, not tired like you need a nap, even though sometimes you do need a nap, but tired in your spirit, tired of showing up, tired of being strong, tired of knowing what to say, tired of being the one that people come to, tired of being creative on demand, tired of posting, tired of explaining, tired of trying to sound professional, tired of trying to make everything make sense. And sometimes if you're building a brand or a business or writing a book or trying to get your message out there, it can feel like you always have to find the right words. And you feel like you have to sound clear, you have to sound healed, you have to sound confident, you have to sound like you know exactly where you're going. Half the time we don't. But the truth is, sometimes you are still figuring it out. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck because we think being authentic means we have to come online and tell everything. And I don't believe that. I don't believe you have to tell all your business to be real. I don't believe you have to expose every wound to have a powerful story. I don't believe you have to share from a place that still hurts just to prove that you're relatable. And sometimes authentic just means telling the truth with wisdom. And sometimes it means saying, I'm still becoming. I am still becoming. Sometimes it means saying, I don't have all the words yet, but I know there's something that's in me. And that's enough of a starting place for you. And I want to say this to somebody listening. The real you is not gone. She may just be buried under the version of you that had to be strong, buried under the version of you that had to keep going, buried under the version of you that had to take care of everybody, buried under the version of you that had to survive things you don't even talk about like that. And sometimes people will meet the strong version of you and think that's the whole version. But there's more. There's a softer you. They meet the strong version and think you gotta be strong all the time, and therefore they treat you like that, and you feel like you have to be that all the time. That's what being on is. You know what I mean? But there is more. There's a softer you, a creative you, a bold you, a wise you, a playful you, a spiritual you, a business-minded you, a woman who still dreams, a woman who still has ideas, you know? A woman who still wants to write, speak, create, build, sing, lead, help, pour, you know? But maybe she's been quiet because she's been tired. Maybe she's been quiet because she didn't feel safe. Maybe she's been quiet because every time she tried to speak, somebody misunderstood her. Oh, that's so good. Come on. Maybe she's been quiet because she didn't want to sound bitter. I'm not talking against marriages, but I had 2 divorces. You don't want to talk about the divorce and what led up to it because you don't want to sound bitter. You don't want to rain on somebody else's parade. Maybe she's been quiet because she didn't know how to talk about what she lived through without feeling like she was going backwards. I don't want to address that because if I address that, then it's going to seem like I'm back in that space. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to be around that because it's going to feel like I'm back in that space. And listen, I get that. But sometimes you can have a whole story inside of you and still not know how to say it. That does not mean that you don't have a message. It means that your story needs language. That's it. Your story needs language. Your wisdom needs structure. Your voice needs a room. And sometimes you need to sit with yourself long enough to hear yourself again, right? So let me say this part slow. Your story does not have to become a performance. Let me say that again. Your story does not have to become a performance. Because we live in a time where people will tell you, be vulnerable, be transparent, tell your story. And yes, storytelling is powerful, but everything does not need to be content. Everything does not need to be a caption. Everything does not need to be explained to people who don't even have the capacity to honor it. Some parts of your story are for God. Some parts of your story are for therapy. Some parts are for your journal. And some parts are for people who have earned the right to hear it. And some parts are for your audience, but only after you have found the wisdom in it. That's where shift happens. Because when you share from wisdom, you don't just say, this happened to me. You say, this is what it taught me. You don't just say, I went through a hard season. You say, the season taught me how to come back to myself. You don't just say, I was overlooked. You say, being overlooked taught me the visibility, that visibility without identity still won't make you feel seen. You know what I mean? That's the difference. There's where your brand message starts to form. That's where your book starts to have some type of direction. And that's where your content starts to feel like you. Because now you're not just telling a story, you're giving language to the transformation. And that's what people connect with, right? I think one of the biggest reasons people lose their voice is because they start listening to everyone else's. You get online and everybody has a formula. Everybody has a strategy. Everybody has a hook. Everybody has a way that they tell you to post. And I'm not saying strategy is bad. Y'all know I believe in strategy, but strategy should support your voice, not replace it. Because what happens is you start writing like everybody else. You start using your words and you don't even use. Like you trying to use big words because you heard somebody else say it. You start creating content that looks good, but it doesn't feel like you, not even to yourself. You start building a brand that starts sounding polished, but it's disconnected. And people may even like it. But inside, this doesn't really feel like me. And I want to say this. Your voice does not have to sound like everybody else's to be valuable. It does not. Your voice does not have to sound like everybody else's to be valuable. All right? You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the most dramatic. You don't have to be the most polished. You don't have to be the most perfect. You have to be clear enough to tell the truth in wisdom. That's what I love about real brand messaging. It's not just cute words. It's not just a tagline. It's not just a bio. It's you understanding that you carry and learning how to say in a ways that connects. Like you know what you're carrying. And now you're learning how to say it in a way, or how to give the transformation in a way that it connects with the audience that's assigned to you. Not in a fake way, not in a forced way, in your way, right? So let me give you something simple. When you're trying to figure out what your story has to do with your brand, your book, your business, your message, ask yourself 4 things. What happened? What did it teach me? Who needs this lesson? And what am I inviting them into? That's it. What happened? What did it teach me? Who needs this lesson? And what am I inviting them into? That's your homework. Ask those 4 questions and answer them honestly. Because sometimes we get stuck trying to make everything so deep. But clarity can be simple. For example, you may say, I spent years becoming what everybody needed me to be. Okay, that's what happened. Then you ask, what did that teach me? Maybe it taught you that being needed is not the same as being aligned. Then you ask, who needs this lesson? Maybe it's the women who are tired of building their lives around everybody else's expectation. Then you ask, what am I inviting them into? Maybe you're inviting them into clarity, identity, healing, purpose, or authentic storytelling. Now you have a message. Now it's not just a life experience. It's language. It's content. It's a podcast topic. It's a book chapter. It's a coaching session. It's a brand statement. It's something that can help somebody else. And I think that's what makes storytelling so powerful. Not just because you went through it, but that you came out with wisdom that can help someone else breathe, think, heal, build, or believe again, even if they're going through it. So I want to ask you a few questions, and you don't have to answer them out loud unless you want to. But just sit with them. Where have you been quiet? Not because you had nothing to say, but because you were tired. Where have you been trying to sound like the right version of yourself instead of the real version of yourself? What part of your story has wisdom in it, but you haven't found the words yet? What have you been through that taught you something that somebody else needs? And here's the big one. What would the real you say if she didn't feel like she had to perform? Oh, that's so good. What would you say if you didn't feel like you had to be on? That one might sit with you. It might sit with you for a little bit, because that's going to make you pause. It's going to make you get quiet for a minute and really answer this question with honesty. And it made me do that. So I hope it makes you do that too. Because that is okay. Sometimes the first step is not posting. It's not launching. It's not recording. It's not writing the whole book. Sometimes the first step is listening to yourself again. Sometimes it's sitting in the car for 5 extra minutes and saying, God, what are you trying to say through this season? Sometimes it's opening your notes app and writing the sentence you keep avoiding. Sometimes it's admitting, I don't want to sound like everybody else. I want to sound like me. And that is where it starts, right? That's why I wanted to start off the record here. Because before we talk about publicity, before we talk about branding, before we talk about media, before we talk about books and websites and invisibility and all of that, I want us to talk about the person that is behind it. Because if the person behind the brand is disconnected, the brand is going to feel disconnected. And if the person behind the message is hiding, the message is going to feel hidden. And if the person behind the story has not found language yet, the audience may feel something, but they won't fully understand what you're trying to say. And I don't want that for us. I don't want that for us building brands just to look busy. I don't want us to be writing books just to say we wrote one. I don't want us creating content just because the algorithm says that we should. I want us to build from truth, from clarity, from purpose, from wisdom, from transformation. Because that is when people don't just see you, they understand you. And that's a different kind of visibility. So as we close today, I just want to remind you